Hello and welcome to Chalk Talk. My name is Charlie Stokes, and today I'll be talking to you about next-gen firewall designs. And in particular, we're going to focus on a design we call the Resilient next-gen firewall design. The Resilient design is actually a reasonably older design that starts with your outside switch, traffic coming in from the outside world, and it would proceed through a pair of ASA firewalls in active standby HA. So behind each ASA firewall is a directly connected firepower threat defense device. And then on the inside, again, it would go through a pair of switches headed off to the inside network. So again, this is an active standby ASA pair, which means that this ASA is the active one. He receives all of the traffic coming in from the outside world, sends it off through the inside, and he acts as the gateway in a layer 3 environment or the path in a layer 2 deployment to the outside world for the inside. So all traffic traverses the active, you can call it the active stack, because again, because ASA is directly connected to FTD, this acts as a failover pair. So if either device fails, the active traffic moves over through the backup pair, the standby pair of ASA and FTD. And generally speaking, this would be dual connected into your switches to allow the traffic from FTD to be received from either switch. And generally, your ASA would probably be dual connected to your FTD device as well. As is normal, we would create 2 port channels on ASA and on FTD to allow them to connect here, ASA to FTD, FTD to the switch. Same thing for the standby devices, port channel from ASA to FTD and a port channel from FTD to the switch. And generally, also port channel from ASA to the outside, port channel from the standby pair. So this design is, you may recognize it, it's been deployed for a long time. It's a very traditional IPS deployment directly connected to FTD. One particular benefit of this design is that if you're replacing, potentially if it was a 5585 with firepower services and you're replacing it with newer ASAs and newer FTD devices, the behavior of this deployment acts very similarly to a 5585 in active standby, with the primary similarity being that because these FTD devices are not deployed in stateful failover, they're independent devices, so they're not sharing state. When sessions move from one to another, ASA, if any device in here fails, all the sessions will move over here, and the resiliency of this design will act very, very similarly. In fact, it'll behave virtually identically to an ASA with firepower services 5585 deployment. So the end result is that you'll get very similar behavior to what you have today. We'll talk about a design later that includes stateful capabilities on your FTD deployment. Now we're going to talk about the logical deployment for the Resilient design. Because we have an ASA in HA, we're going to represent it using one device here, and we've got FTD down below, so packets would flow through an ASA directly connected to FTD. But because we're using multi-context, we're going to represent that using multiple colors here. So here we are with context 1 and context 2. Context 1 traffic proceeds down to FTD, and again, ASA is connected to FTD directly, and FTD, in fact, is set up in IPS interface pairing mode. So what that means is you'll connect interfaces on both sides of the FTD device, and you'll connect those together inside the configuration so that packets, these 2 interfaces basically are one wire effectively. So as traffic traverses through the ASA, comes down, goes through context 1, comes out on VLAN 910, then as it proceeds through this trunked interface to FTD, FTD will do its inspection, and because it's in interface pairing mode, it doesn't rewrite any of the VLANs. So traffic that comes in on 910 leaves on 910. On the same trunked interface between the devices, we can also have traffic coming in on leaving context 2 on VLAN 915, going through FTD, and coming out on 915. Now, because these are separate VLANs in FTD, we can very easily build a policy for VLAN 915, and then similarly build a different policy for VLAN 910, allowing us to differentiate policy according to the traffic, according to the VLAN that it comes through FTD on. This concludes the Resilient Design. Thank you for your time.